Sell them that sizzle. Sell them the terms that they desire. Because realistically, if they like the house, they have to go get the financing. If you can merge the two together, I haven't had a property go more than a week in the last advertisement cycle without a buyer. A week. I overshot myself a little bit when we talked about 30 days, right? Buyers, if you can mesh the financing with the sale of the home. Imagine. I can tell you now, all of you in this room, and anybody that would watch this, that you're approved. Because I can approve you if I own it. I can lease option it to you, I can sell it. It's up to you to be a better character of it, and have better judgment as to who you approve and why. Security and loan to value are the biggest features that you want to look at when approving somebody. How much money do they have down? What do they have at risk? Instead of just the fact that someone was willing to sign on the bottom line. That wouldn't be very good because we can see that from what's happening in our marketplace today, right? Just the ability to sign does not give the ability to have credit. All right, let's take a little break. We'll get in here, we'll wrap it up. About 5 minutes, we'll do that. The rest of the thing, and then you can have all the time that you want to be able to transact deals. Be available for a short time afterward. Okay. Who do you hire? Number one, in selling or buying, you need good counsel. So find a competent legal advisor, an attorney that knows of real estate transactions. Now, you can't imagine who I've ran into in my career. Attorneys, they ask about real estate and they don't know anything about it. Their area of law doesn't run into that. Even if, I had a person call their bankruptcy lawyer to find out what the transaction was of selling a mortgage note, and they couldn't tell you at all. So just because they hold a law degree doesn't mean they specialize in that area. Find, ask around, ask brokers, find out who's had dealings with it. Find competent counsel. Number two, find an accountant. Find other counsel that will be able to tell you what type of impact it will have on your financing, both positive and negative, when you're dealing in a contract sale. What will the implications be? Will you be able to defer taxation? Will you get taxed more? Will you increase your liabilities by selling it in such a way? Most of the time you'll be able to defer over time different tax impounds that you have. So it might be an advantage to you. But check that. Know it up front, right? You wouldn't buy any kind of puppy without first looking at what it was, right? Before you raised it. Don't do the same thing with a real estate transaction. So hire your professionals. Where do you find the money to fix up a property? Let me give you an example of something. Let's say that I don't have any money to put into my property. That's why it is in the state of disrepair that it's at. And I need to find money, and I'm already behind in payments. I'm in foreclosure. Where do I find it? Where do I come up with the fix-up money? Well, who in here would like to be partners? Who in here has a Visa card that they might have some room on it? Right? Not very many people. Okay, good. We're in the right crowd. Who in here has good credit that they might want a partnership on? Who has, the availability of cash to them? You have to offer what other people, who would like to share equity in the potential sale. If you have $30,000 in equity in your house and you think that you can increase the sale of your property, increase the value by at least, what you're putting into it, I would suggest that if you can't get back out of the property what you're putting into it in the repair, don't do the repair. Sell it for cheaper. But you can also take on an equity partner, someone that's willing to share in that liability. As a matter of fact, as a seller of the property and in that situation, then you have another motivated party interested in the deal with you to make sure that the payments get made. So if you can't afford the payments, if you're backing the payments, what is it that you can't sell? You might be able to sell tax advantages, right? You can't sell the advantage, but they're going to automatically get them as a result of being a partner with you in the transaction. If you sell them the property, they get tax advantages or disadvantages, depending on what it is, right? Okay, so where do you find the money? There are all kinds of programs that are available. There are different housing programs. There are FHA programs. There are also, and I prefer, private contacts. Put up in there, want to make $5,000. Loan me the money. You can secure someone that's giving you the money. You can secure them by a mortgage against the property, so you don't have to transfer the title to them and invoke that due on sale clause. You can share it. You can do a partnership agreement with them. You can do those type of things so that you can get the money to fix up those properties. If I brought you, we have a saying in this business, no good deal goes unfunded. Right? So if you have a great transaction and someone can clearly see that there's an advantage to it, then you'll get financing for it if you seek it. If you have a bad deal, no matter how much lipstick you put on that pig, right, it's not going to make it a good deal. So you have to remember that. So don't try to force a bad deal. Sometimes it's better to walk away from a bad deal. And investors that are coming up with the cash to do so, they'll recognize it too. Always sell them a position of security on the property, mortgages, whatnot. That's taking on a partner. And lease option transactions. It's important that when you're doing lease option transactions, that you do so in a manner that doesn't combine the two together. You want to make sure that your option consideration is not refundable to the buyer if they decide not to buy the property. Whatever they give you today is your money. If they don't buy it later, they lose it. That's important. You don't want a refundable earnest money, for instance. You don't want them to take possession of the property, lease it for 2 years, and at the end of the lease say, you know what, I decided not to buy it, so I'd like my earnest money back, please. And in some cases, I've seen transactions where people have signed it up that the closing was 2 years out, but it also allowed for the refunding of the earnest money, so they actually had to get that back. Or worse yet, you lease it to somebody and you give them the option to buy it, and they stop making their lease payments early on. But that default in the payment didn't also cancel the option. So here's what you have. You have somebody that doesn't live in the property anymore, but still has the right to buy it sometime after and at a future date. So your lease agreement should be contingent upon the lease payments being made. And if the lease payments aren't made, you should cancel the option. Right? So non-refundable option consideration and the lease amounts should be contingent upon them buying the property. So those two things. If you want to learn more about it, we have that in fix it, flip it, and financing. There's lease options, wholesale, and fixer type properties. That's the class there. As well as bad paper and foreclosures. We just finished that bad paper and foreclosures class. Always a good time talking about good bad deals, right? And those are the mortgages. Those are the mortgages that are on property. So when someone doesn't pay on this mortgage, it has rights to foreclose and things like that. So sometimes the best investment is just a piece of the equity, a mortgage agreement. Any questions that we have? Great. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. You can stay and mingle. But successful selling. Remember, sell terms, okay?